dark side for the black comedy, black humor side of things.
I told you Santa would come, and he didn't even have to come down the chimney. I let him in. No! No! Ah! Ah! No! No!
Naughty or nice?
He's got this real fantasy, sort of very childlike, boyish side to him, and he's got this hard side, this edge, and you put them together, you get Death Becomes Her.
Did you think
The fun thing about film is that you have a chance to manipulate time, especially in action. In the stairfall and in the strangling scene, of course, we wanted it to be a bit almost cartoony in how, you know, she defies gravity by teetering on the edge of these stairs, which does a couple of things. It takes a bit of the reality off of the murder and then allows the audience, I hope, to tolerate this endless stairfall, which was done in a cartoon sense by filmically expanding the stairs to about 5 times their length. In the screenplay, the writer wrote, when she falls on the stairs, she hits every single stair. And that was a wonderful visual description of how the scene had to unfold. And the sound helps us feel every stair that she hits.
Oh, boy.
What a director looks for in a screenplay is things that can trigger images in his head. That, I think, is the key to writing action, because you can't really be too specific because it's always going to change. But if you can just inspire images in the director in the way that you describe action, that to me is very good writing.
I met Bob Zemeckis at USC Film School in 1971 or 72, 71 I think it was. We were undergraduates in a largely graduate department, and therefore we had a common bond automatically because the department was about 70 or 80% graduate students, so all the undergraduates kind of kept together. There were all these graduate students talking about the auteur theory and Godard and all this stuff, and we were talking about James Bond and Clint Eastwood movies. So we discovered right away that we had a certain affinity towards each other.
Well, it turned out that we both liked films that had, strong narrative stories and then had action in them. I mean, one of the films we found out that we both loved as kids was The Great Escape, and we had seen that film we each had it memorized.
He was the only person in my life I'd ever met who also owned the soundtrack album from the movie The Great Escape. He wanted to be a director, I wanted to be a writer, and we both wanted to just get out of school and start making movies. None of this work your way up stuff. We just wanted to get out there and start doing it.
We had a 3-pronged attack plan. One was to write a feature film, because everyone said that's the way to crack into the business, and of course that turned out to be true. The second was to try and do a low-budget horror movie, which were very popular in those days.
And then the third one had to do with Bob hanging around Universal, having heard the legend of Steven Spielberg, and the legend goes that Steven hung around Universal and found a vacant office and made everybody think that he belonged there and was a director under contract and got a directing gig. It's not exactly like that, but it's a good story.
And I just hung around for the entire episode of a McCloud show, from beginning to end. And I saw them scrambling to write these scripts the weekend before it had to shoot, and so I suggested to Bob that maybe we could, write some of these, and we did. We wrote a episode of The Night Stalker. We sold that, and they produced that one.
Writing was a real good way to get in, because everybody needs a script, and paper's cheap. Film is expensive.
Well, these two fiends, these just maniacal kids, forced their way into my office. I think I was on the Goldwyn lot, and they said they were USC graduates. I thought they were imposters. And they forced their way up there. But they were so nuts that I had to keep them, you know. I couldn't throw them out because they were just so completely crazed.
What's your name?
Stanley Dwowski.
Polish, eh? What a coincidence. Rudy Polanski, how are you? Hey, I like that watch, Stan. Great shoes. Love them.
Thanks.
So, Stan, you want to buy this Buick Centurion, huh? Good choice. Smart man, you got good taste. I'll tell you something a lot of people have these days. Nice to see somebody finally walk on this lot who knows a good car when he sees one, I'll tell you. So, we read it up?
Yeah, well, actually, I was just looking.
Oh, hey, terrific. Terrific. That's what we're here for, Stan. Here you can look, browse, peek, touch, feel, taste, smell, do anything you want, take all the time you want. Nobody's going to pressure anybody around here, Stan.
Matter of fact, we sort of formed a group, the three of us, and our motto was Civitas Sine Prudentia, which means a citizenry without prudence. Means basically social irresponsibility. And under the heading of social irresponsibility, that was, we would sit there and talk about, like people today talk about political correctness. We would talk about the socially irresponsible merits of a film.
Bob and I had cooked up this idea of that it was a film that eventually became 1941, which was about the panic that set in on the home front here on the West Coast right in the days following Pearl Harbor. And then it turned out that John and Stephen over the years had become good friends, and Stephen remembered my student film from the early days of USC. And I, you know, gave Stephen the screenplay, and he read it, and he said, God, I want to make this. So it was like one of those, it sounds easy, but it, you know, that is exactly how it happened.
We wanted to call it originally The Night the Japs Attacked, or just plain Japs. And of course that was, you know, politically incorrect. You can't call people Japs or anything like that, you know.
And I think that Stephen might be a bit uncomfortable with that really dark type of humor, and I think he softened it. And I think that's where maybe the material and he were a little bit out of sync.
Yeah, Stephen doesn't have the healthy cynicism that we have.
Just about every frame is filled with some sort of a mayhem of
Pratfall, explosion, something.
I think it was Pauline Kael said it was like having your head stuck in a pinball machine for 2 hours. I thought that was a good description of what it might have been like, and I'm very proud. I put that on my resume.